Tonight on The Roast, we look at the frenzy of campaign launches from the weekend and the Coalition announces a boat buyback scheme. But first, here's Mark Humphries with the latest election wrap-up.
The Coalition officially launched their campaign yesterday, despite the fact the election date was announced 3 weeks ago. In the words of someone explaining the plot of Back to the Future, it's about time. Abbott skimped on paying for a warm-up act, making his daughters do it.
Please join me in welcoming the man who may be the next Prime Minister of Australia.
Maybe? Geez, thanks, kid. When we move into the lodge, you can have Rudd's old bed. Why can't you be more like this guy?
I'd like to introduce Australia's next Prime Minister and the federal leader of the United Australia Party, Professor Clive Palmer.
That's more like it, but unlike his fence-sitting daughters, Tony Abbott was a little more definitive.
This election is about making a great country even better. And that starts with changing the worst government in our history.
Yeah, this is the worst government in our history. Not the government that got fired by the Governor-General, not the government that introduced the White Australia policy, not the government that stole kids from their families. You hear that, Labor Party? You're the worst government. It's all there in black and white, clear as crystal. You created the deficit. You started the boats. You stole fizzy lifting drinks. You bumped into the ceiling, which now has to be washed and sterilised, so you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir. Meanwhile, several members of the WikiLeaks party, including star candidate Dr. Leslie Cannold, have resigned after controversial preference deals. Now it's being reported that the WikiLeaks Senate campaign is in crisis. Who'd have thought that a party started by an alleged sex offender who's been sleeping in an Ecuadorian kitchenette for the last 2 years would be in crisis? Elsewhere, Kevin Rudd has denied claims that he postponed an important Syria briefing to film an episode of ABC cooking show Kitchen Cabinet. News Limited papers went particularly hard on Rudd, and why wouldn't they? Because of Rudd's reckless Kitchen Cabinet appearance, Australia missed that Saturday afternoon window of time when we could have nuked Syria. Then on Sunday morning, to quell rumours that he wasn't neglecting his duties just to appear on ABC programs, Kevin Rudd appeared on ABC program Insiders.
Why do you say you deserve to be re-elected?
Well, Barry, I'm the first one to admit it, having returned to the Prime Ministership, that in the past the government has got a number of things wrong.
A compelling argument for re-election. What else you got?
The government has got a number of things wrong. All governments do. I seek, however, to admit it.
So if you want a government that'll get things wrong, vote for any old party. But if you want a government that'll openly get things wrong, vote one ALP. And fans of nostalgia got a special treat over the weekend, with several former Prime Ministers reminding us they're still alive. Paul Keating spoke at the campaign launch of Labor MP Bill Shorten and chose to get a bit nostalgic himself, describing a former Liberal treasurer.
Peter Costello, I used to call him the talking knee. It's kind of like one of those knees you paint a face on, you know.
We know. Take that, Costello, you talking knee. Sure, you may not be running in this election, but the people need to be reminded of your face and its painted knee-like qualities. Then we had Julia Gillard, who released a statement saying she won't be attending the Labor Party's campaign launch next Sunday, saying, "I simply do not want to distract in any way from Kevin Rudd's powerful message to the Australian people." Well, she also said that there wouldn't be a carbon tax, so I'm guessing she will turn up, late, and in something strapless to show his ass up. Meanwhile, Bob Hawke, pictured here dressed for a Bob Hawke-themed costume party, has repeated his calls to make Australia the repository of the world's nuclear waste. Despite the fact that it could be a great source of income, Hawke says no one's got the guts to implement the unpopular idea. No one, of course, except for those candidates who are running on a platform of career suicide. As for John Howard, well, he got a bit of a cuddle, and Harold Holt still missing. For The Roast, I'm Mark Humphries.
Thank you, Mark. Well, next up tonight, this weekend marked 3 weeks into the campaign. So to celebrate, most of the parties officially launched their campaigns, thereby creating a mind-blowing rip in the space-time continuum. The Greens launched their campaign down in Canberra, the Coalition went up to Brisbane, and Clive Palmer went all the way outside on his own resort on the Sunshine Coast. And whilst these events can be a bit dull and self-indulgent, they are important for the undecided voter, because they give political parties the opportunity to present themselves exactly as they want to be seen. They're kind of like book week at school, where everyone gets to see you dressed up as your favourite book character. Except in this case, the book everyone's read is the Australian Constitution, and they're all dressed up as Prime Minister. Still, to give us a wrap-up of the weekend's action, we sent Clark Richards to each of the launches. Clark, how were they?
I went to the Greens launch on Saturday. Let's take a look at how it went.
Greens, welcome.
Adam Baird is about to introduce Greens leader Christine Milne to the podium. The sun? It's a rave! It wasn't a rave. It was a clothing compulsory political convention.
What would you say was the focus of the speech?
Well, she mainly spoke about the most important figure to the Greens at the moment,
Tony Abbott, 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 Tony Abbott.
And did the former high school English teacher make any sort of intelligent literary references?
Oh yeah, Ms Milne went deep into the Year 10 curriculum to find an analogy for her vision for the Greens.
As Henry Thoreau said, I do not wish to take a cabin passage, but rather to go before the deck of the world, for there I could best see the moonlight amid the mountains. I do not wish to go below now.
That is a great quote.
Yeah, I didn't get it either. Now to a party that keeps it simple and might actually get elected, and Clive Palmer. I'm here at the Coalition's launch party, and here comes Tony Abbott! So I've ducked into the Palmer United Party launch, and so far I've missed a short documentary on the Palmer United Party, half a 60 Minutes episode on Clive Palmer, and a video on Titanic 2. Is this the Clive Palmer Film Festival? Clive! Clive, Clive, Clive! Clive, Clive, Clive! Clive, Clive, Clive! Back to Abbott. Clive, Clive, Clive! I'm going to go back to Clive. What the hell is this?
A Fairfax cartoonist made it to make fun of Clive.
Seriously, when does this film festival finish? Oh, Tony. Okay, it's bring your daughters to work day, just like every other day of this campaign.
He thought that netball was just a different form of rugby. We all played for our local club, Forest Netball. And Dad could always be heard from the sidelines, if not hundreds of metres away, calling, "Run, Forest, run."
Is this his 21st?
We'll stop the boats and we'll build the roads of the 21st century, because I want
We're going
to
to check with
be
Clive.
an infrastructure.
Okay, let's check how this billionaire's going to pay for his policies.
Who gives a stuff about the cost?
Well, it's a good thing he's running the Clive Palmer Film Festival and not a campaign for PM. Am I right? No good? For the roast, I'm Clark Richards. Back to you, Clark. Thanks, Clark.
Yes, thanks, Clark. Finally tonight, the Coalition has announced a $420 million plan to stop the boats, a key part of which involves buying unseaworthy boats from Indonesian villages. Apparently, seaworthy boats are fine, it's just the unseaworthy ones we need to stop, even though they are traditionally stopped by the sea. Still, how has the government reacted to the Coalition's plan?
Of all the mad ideas I've heard in immigration, I think boat buyback wins.
Challenge accepted, Mr. Burke. I didn't realise it was a competition, but we can go way madder than the Coalition. They want to buy back boats from people smugglers. How about buying the people smugglers? Nah, we can go madder than that. Nick Richardson, you got any crazy ideas?
Do a deal with Poseidon and hire sirens to lure the boats. Okay, build a second story on Australia and let all the immigrants live on the bottom floor?
No.
Okay, make immigrants think they can sail here, but they're actually trapped in a Truman Show style biodome.
It's just not crazy enough.
No, wait. Buy the ocean.
Oh, I think we have a winner.
I think boat buyback wins.
Why did the boat buyback scheme win the Mad Idea Prize? The gun buyback scheme worked, and guns are more dangerous than boats. Can't shoot a person with a boat. All right, we should probably stop those boats. But in terms of Indonesian fishing vessels, I mean, how many boats are we talking about here?
726,000 fishing vessels in Indonesia.
Yeah, okay, that is quite a lot of boats to sort through, especially when you consider that most people smugglers don't advertise or name their boats after their illegal profession. Plus, buying boats from potential people smugglers could have unintended consequences.
If you were to do it, I have no doubt at all, it would be great for the shipbuilding industry of Indonesia.
So for more on that, let's cross now to Jazz Twemlow, live in Indonesia. Jazz, will this scheme work?
Tom, I'm no business expert, but from what I can understand from this basic textbook, keeping in mind so far
only read the contents page, you can't stop people from making things by paying them large amounts of money for the things they're making.
Yep, okay, I'm with you so far.
I mean, Apple isn't going to stop making iPhones just because people are buying them. They're actually going to do the opposite, and they're going to make more. That's how business works.
Okay, well, like iPhones, which improve every year and are updated, is there a chance that the boats might improve as well?
Well, no. If you're selling shitty boats and your customers are happy to consistently buy shitty boats, then that's all you'll make. And if you don't make shitty boats, you should probably start, because now you've got an inexhaustible market.
All right, thank you, Jazz. I have to say, it kind of makes you nostalgic for the good old days of immigration policy, where it was just send everyone to PNG. But no matter what your views on the scheme are, it will be very interesting to see how these actions affect Australia and the regions surrounding it in the years to come.
Finally, if you turn to page 63 of your textbooks, we're going to see how in 2014 Australia affected and redirected cultures in the Pacific, or as we call it, Sean...
The age of Australia's moral decline?
Very good, Sean. So, looking at this map here, we can all see the glowing countries which are bustling hives of activity.
Why is Australia not glowing?
Because Australia's economy collapsed in 2021. And can anybody remember why, Sean?
Australia tried to buy every boat on the planet.
Spectacular, Sean. Which is when everybody in Australia started seeking asylum in the cosmopolitan neighbouring islands that by then had prosperous shipping economies.
So what's Australia now?
Well, it's mainly used as a dumping ground for radioactive waste and is overrun by xenophobic mutants, which we can all see if we turn to page 64.
Australia sucks.
Get out, Sean.
These asylum seeker policies are just getting worse.
Okay, so you've said no to sirens, but what about the six-headed monster Scylla?
No. That's it. Good night.
A giant whirlpool?
No, Nick.
A fleet of Cyclops border guards?
Have you just been reading the Odyssey?
We rename Australia Indonesia so they won't want to come here.
We drain the ocean, then boats won't work.
Get off my set.